be paid last.
You being the business owner.
You being the business owner. And oh, by the way, you better make sure your spouse is on board with that.
That's a big point.
Because even if you look at it from an owner's standpoint, even if the spouse is not involved directly in the business, they're involved in the business. So going with your eyes wide open and understanding that, especially if you're starting something up, even if you aren't starting something up and you've been going on for a number of years, one of the first people to start to take delays in payment is going to be you as the owner. And so you got to be okay with that and be aware of that. Not that you have to like it, but just be aware of it. That's often one of the triggers that gets pulled. And if your spouse is not aware of it from day one, when it comes up for the first time, let me tell you, Jack, that's not a conversation that you're going to be looking forward to having.
It's a tough one to coach. Other than just be sympathetic with the client, and that's a tough one. It really is, and it's one that comes up all the time, especially when you hit those little valleys. One of the things we like to do is hopefully you're in a business situation where you have some holding power. So those kinds of things, the money issues personally, don't become overwhelming, because they can very fast. There's no question about that.
Yeah, it's one of the things we often talk about. We'll put folks in a couple of broad categories in terms of folks who have more of that job mentality versus the entrepreneur or business owner mentality, and it takes time. This is something that took time for my wife, and she still has some trouble with it at times in terms of her growing up. It was always a job. Her dad had a job, or her mom had a job. They always had refunds from taxes every year, right? I mean, so the idea of not having a steady paycheck is can be very, very taxing. When we first started up MVP, I was just having our first kid was on the way, and not much was coming in to start with. And hey, so when are you looking at getting that job, right? It was one of those kind of questions, right? And it's like, or what's plan B? And it's like, well, hey, I'm not worried about plan B right now. I'm focusing on plan A. I'm not taking any time away from plan A to make things happen. But it never becomes comfortable that way with many folks, because it's so ingrained in their heads. And so if you as the owner are going to be ingrained that way too, you gotta have that discussion with yourself to make sure that you're aware of this stuff, that you're not going to have that job mentality where you're constantly worried about getting a paycheck out of the company every week or every couple of weeks. That if need be, you're going to make the right decisions for the business, which again, it's rare that paying you is the right decision.
That's also correct. I laugh at the advice a lot of consultants that we've run into give to small business owners. And that advice is, hey, make sure when you're putting your business plan, which is a crazy word, but put a business plan together, that you include definitely a salary for yourself. Nothing could be further than the truth.